Hey guys, I want to show an example of a protruding Pixelcade LCD mount. So this is actually the 24-inch version. So this is what the back looks like of the mount. So here's all of your electronics, and I'll also mention that some people wanted to know if there was an option to get a Pixelcade without the Pixelcade system, and they want to, so say they're running something like Big Box, which has a built-in Marquee feature, then technically you don't need Pixelcade. You don't get all the features, but you can get base Marquees, and you would just unhook this, plug in your own HDMI from your PC. That assumes you have a secondary HDMI, and then you'd be just fine. So that is an option. You can order it without Pixelcade if you want, and we take off a little bit of money if you do that. But anyhow, let me show you this. This is what we call a protruding mount. And we call it protruding because protruding means that your Marquee height is not tall enough for this to recess in for a flush mount. So flush mount, if you can get it, is always best. But some people, the Marquee area is too short. And instead of flush mounting and recessing this in, it has to basically bolt on via these wood screws. And that's why we call it a protruding mount, because it protrudes, it sticks out a little bit. So I want to show you how to mount a protruding mount. So the first thing you would do is notice that there's 4 wood screws on the sides here, and that's what you're gonna, so you basically line this up against your cab. Your cabinet is going to have this horizontal top piece of wood on your Marquee, horizontal bottom piece of wood on your Marquee. That's going to line up to these holes. So basically just bolt it on there. What I would do is I would attach it, probably a 2-person job, have someone hold it, mark it, pre-drill it, pre-drill the holes, and then screw these using the wood screws in by hand. I would not use a screw gun to screw these in because you don't want to over tighten it. Just hand tight is perfectly fine. So pretend that this is mounted on your cabinet. So that's step 1. Step 2 is you're going to take this bezel and just line up the holes here. And you'll notice on this bezel that there is this text here, use this side matte. So in the bezel, this is glossy, this is matte. The matte looks way better than the glossy side. So I always recommend use the matte side and then remove the masking tape. So this masking will come off on both sides. Technically, I guess you don't need to take it off on this side. So just the masking on this side. And then just line up these holes here. And these little thumb screws, you can kind of do them by hand, but I include this hex tool as well. Just hand tight, don't over tighten them. And I always include extra screws because if you're like me, it's really easy to lose a screw. So there's an extra in there in case you're wondering what the extra is for. All right, now remember this was a protruding mount. So the downside of the protruding mount is that you see the sides, right? So this is sticking out, it's protruding. So you're gonna see this gap there. So what we do to fill that gap is we include a couple side pieces. That's what these guys are. There's a left and a right, so notice that they're marked L and R. So let's start with the right side first. And the way this works, see if I can show you, there's a little notch here, right there. And that notch will line up with this notch. And this is kind of cool. So basically you just line it up and then it's just gonna attach with friction. So you just push it down. And then now you have this nice cover on your side so you don't see that side gap anymore. And then this of course has mask as well. So you take that masking off and it's black underneath. And then let's just do the same thing for the other side. Before this design, I used to have people glue them on, but I think this is a little better because you don't need to worry about gluing it. You can just kind of press it on and it'll stay on there with friction. It's not going to come off. So again, that's the side. Now you will see the gap on the top, but unless you're super tall, you know, typical cabinets are over 6 feet tall, you're not going to see that. So that you don't need to worry about so much. So again, protruding mount, you got those sides covered. That's really the key piece. So that is protruding Pixelcade LCD mount. As always, thanks for watching.